The following movie is rated R.
Welcome back to the R-Rated Podcast. Today's guest is Bita Arefnia.
Hello.
She has been on the podcast before, and we talked about animation and couples in the film industry. So you might recognize her, but this is the first time you see her on video.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So we're finally here, yay! Today we're going to talk about the difference between acting on stage versus film. So she actually has experience, acting in film and like short films and in musical theaters also, or plays.
Mainly just stage plays.
Stage plays, okay.
Have I done musical theater?
I can see you do it. Like I just,
I literally have to
you just
double
strike me
think
as someone
if I
that
actually
sings.
did.
So I'm like,
No, I do sing. I did a lot of like choir performances and stuff, and maybe that had some elements of musical theater in it, but that I did an actual musical, I have not yet. Really want to, but
right.
I have not yet. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say is like the main difference between acting in a film versus on stage for you?
I mean, for me personally, and that's probably going to be the given thing that everyone is going to think,
right?
Which is the bigger versus the smaller.
Right.
It's being on stage. The difference is that you have to know all your lines.
Right. You can't like just be like, oh, I'm gonna memorize them right before I go on and shoot,
and then just be like, one take, good girl, whatever, or like 50 takes, whatever.
Yes.
No, you literally have one shot and it's live.
Right.
And if you mess up, and you just have to like roll with it. Like there is no way around it. It's like the main thing I believe that makes you an actor is knowing what to do when you mess up or when someone else messes up. It's literally a cohesive thing. So it depends on the whole ensemble. It depends on you and your co-actors and everything. And if there is like, there can be line mess ups that happens all the time. Like even if you like perfectly memorize the lines, there will always be like, oh, you're gonna have like this little mess up here, or like you maybe like some lines can be really similar and you mess up there, and then you can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna go back.
Right.
Let me take another take. So that's the biggest difference. And I grew up mostly doing theater. So when I came to film
so
school,
you started with theater.
Yeah, I came like, and I was always like very big, very loud. That was me being obnoxious, me as a kid.
Which is good because you want that stage performance. Because they always say like, the person in the back needs to hear it, the person on the side and like outside needs to hear it.
Yeah,
I always
you have
was
to
a little
have projection
intimidated by
for
that.
sure. Yeah, you definitely have to have projection. You have to be like not shy, at least on stage. There's a lot of people who can like be like, oh my god, I'm a little scared getting on, and then they're on, and then they're like,
they're fine.
like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm here. That's me sometimes. I'd be like, no, I don't want to go. And then I'm like, I'm here.
I don't know how you do it because like I tried it. I was like, I'm gonna try acting. I even did plays in middle school. But honestly, that feeling before going on stage, like right here, like it's like
you have to love it. It's like an adrenaline rush. It's like exciting because you this is what you live for. It's just being on there, doing your thing, and pretending no one else is there. That's kind of my thing. I mean, I love the aspect of an audience. It obviously, mostly with comedy, it obviously helps too. But generally, you're literally just there living your life.
Right.
I'm just like, I'm living out my everything on stage, and I don't care what everybody else is thinking. And then afterwards, you can be ashamed of yourself.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, you really have to like not care what other people think, because like, I mean, you have to care not like if you're acting, in a film or on stage, you have to have that level of confidence already, and like, obviously like you're confident already in some level to be performing in front of people, because even like when you're doing films, like you don't have a whole audience watching, but you still have like all the crew members watching, and that could be intimidating as well.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not like not like you have a whole live audience versus like no one's watching you on film. It's like you still have people watching you.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, oh, that's intimidating. Like even though you don't have an audience, like having just like everyone just like staring at you like with their like tools and equipment, and you're just like,
oh yeah, everyone's like on you the entire time. And you're just like, you can feel everyone's eyes. And that's the thing with stage is like, you don't really see people's faces in the best scenario.
Right, because it's lit all dark.
Because it's lit dark.
Yeah, do they do that on purpose so you don't like get distracted? Or is that just for lighting purposes on stage?
I would like to think that they do that. I mean, I'm sure it's definitely more about like the lights on stage, just the way that they reflect than on the stage. You don't really see when you're on stage what's happening down there because it's too dark. I mean, the main one, besides having to be memorized for stage, and then with film, you might not even film like in chronological order of what's happening. Yeah. Which there are plays too that do that, but that's like this is written that way and you work around it. But with stage, the big thing is that it happens in chronological order of the play. So like you have like things evolve or grow, change, whatever in like a way. So you're like living through it every time.
You can like see the story grow. Like you see the change, you see the growth. Versus like film,
you're like
we're shooting scene 6 and then scene 12 like in a week and then scene 37.
You know these really awkward things with like film sometimes where literally you could be thrown into like a love scene.
Yeah.
Or like it doesn't even mean if it has to be kissing or sex or whatever it is, but literally you could be thrown into any type of love scene in the first day and you might not even have met the person or really talked to them or really like hadn't had a rehearsal besides that. So it's literally like, hi, my name is Peter. Hi, my name is whatever. We're gonna have a sex scene now. Great. Okay. It hasn't happened to me yet, to be honest.
Are you nervous about that?
I'm so nervous about that.
Yeah.
Once it actually is gonna happen, and it's gonna happen when I'm actually getting paid money.
I guess this is the question. I mean, I'm curious, and I'm sure everyone else. How do you prepare for a sex scene?
Okay. So.
And I feel like it would be different in a play versus a film as well, because in a play, do they have sex scenes in plays?
Mm-hmm.
So you're essentially acting out live sex.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. So obviously, even unless you're like in an extreme avant-garde theater type, you're most likely gonna have some sort of covering. So you'll be covered in some sort of way. Like, you just have to be really comfortable and whatever about it. What is it? There's one play. There's this one play called something with Danny Blues. I'm horrible. Anyway, there's this one play that's a very modern play. People love it. People take scenes from it all the time for scene studies classes and whatsoever. And one of my friends made a production of it. Which is very interesting. And we had literally just 2 people, so just a 2-people cast.
A 2-person play.
It's a 2-person play.
Wow.
Like the entire time, it's just 2 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's literally about this one guy falling really hard in love with this other girl, and they have a scene in there where they're like mad for each other. So they literally have the scene in there where they have a whole the whole sex scene happening. You have to be very comfortable. So you're very comfortable watching it. I'm just telling you. Like, cause it's like
watching in a movie, like you're still getting into it. You're like, oh damn, that's hot. But it's like not the same as like watching it live, I feel like.
Yeah, because you're literally like right there.
It's like it's in my face.
Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, mostly if it's like a friend of yours, you're just like, hey buddy, I
don't have any friends that are in plays except you, so now I'm gonna be like,
I mean, obviously it's an art form, it's really beautiful. I'm just a child sometimes, but that was like really interestingly done because he was wearing like boxers, but a little revealing. You didn't like see anything, but boxers. And then she was wearing like a bra and
a bra. So she wasn't wearing like pasties or anything.
No. She was like, they were all like fairly covered. Like, we go to the beach, same thing. I don't really care about that stuff. But then they had it really nicely. Actually, that was one of the best parts, was the way it was choreographed. And you do need stage hands. Like, that's really important to
What do you mean by stage hands?
Like, people who are backstage, they come and help out, like set up the sets and everything, because sometimes it's you're able to do it with your ensemble cast or like your cast in general. Or if you're like 2 people, even you can figure it out. But sometimes you don't have the time for that, and you have to like a lot of set changes.
Right.
Like, someone has to literally move something out, and you have to be on stage again. So they had these stagehands come in, put down this mattress like in the middle of because it was a small stage. So all of a sudden there was this mattress there was the sheets there, it was all the thing, and while they were literally like putting it there, they were in the midst of like making out whatsoever. This whole thing is happening around them. They put it all there, they leave, and then all of a sudden on the bed he has the whole blanket right over him. It's like beautifully done in a way, but also like it looked really rough and messy, which was the point of that play.
Right.
But you can choreograph it all, just like when you choreograph it with film. But that's the thing. Every time I also like, when we also did, we had this one lesbian sex scene.
Yeah.
I had with my former classmate, Cece. Hi, Cece. I don't know if we're gonna see this. And I wish I had the footage for that because I love doing that short film.
I would show it right here and be like,
love
little insert of the footage.
No, it was a beautifully done short film about like this. This story was so cute. It was like my character was this girl that was diagnosed with whatever deadly sickness. Don't want to jinx it. Any deadly sickness. And my mom was played by someone who was literally 2 years older than me, but we're not gonna go with that. Whatever, it's night for student films. It was cute. She looked older, so it worked. But I was like, you're not older than me. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
And then Cece played like basically the girl that I fell in love with, and then wanted to like, cause the whole point was that I've never actually experienced love, and then I fell in love, and I'm this whole basically like a Walk to Remember.
Yeah, or like
but just the
lesbian
lesbian
stars,
version.
but
Oh, like but just the lesbian version. So and it was so beautiful because like the way we filmed it, like on 3 different days, 3 different locations, like this whole, it was literally about them loving each other. Yeah. So the whole like make out scene, whatever sex scene it was, we were like in our bras and we had jeans on, so like no like whatsoever.
Yeah.
But and then we kissed and everything. And that was
How
it.
was that? Was that your first time kissing a girl on stage or like in front of a camera?
On a camera, yeah. Yeah, and I was like, yeah.
I was like, if
that's
it's your first
nice.
time, like, are you like in a like you're not necessarily waiting for a reaction, but like I'm sure after the kiss you're like, was it good? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how was that? Like,
I mean, yeah, you're a little bit like self-conscious, being like,
right? Yeah, like okay.
I saw you like in the midst of it, then I tell you to stop, and you're like,
like the director was like, oh, cut, and you're like in the middle of it,
and you're just like,
was it not good?
Was that
or like
good?
what was it?
Do we need to change something? Is that
like I would be like, okay.
Or like you also like obviously with her like being my classmate and everything, and I knew her for a really long time.
Comfortable.
Yeah, I was very comfortable at the time too. I was just making sure that she was as well, and I knew she was as well. She would always be like, why am I always put? She was typecast so many times like the lesbian lover. She was like, I think they're trying to tell me something. But it was really fun because she was like, oh yeah, I'm used to it, I'm okay with it. Right. When I also asked her, I was like, it's gonna be me and you, are you okay with it? Because someone else like that was supposed to be the person jumped off of the project last minute. So I was like, can you do this like tomorrow? And she was like, sure. And it was like 3 different days.
Yeah.
Like spread out.
But I feel like if you're an actor or actress, like playing different characters, even out of your comfort zone, or something that's very opposite of what you maybe might be, like I feel like that's fun and that's a cool experience of trying things,
for sure,
and seeing things in a different point of view as well. Like that's why I like directing, is because I feel like I can create stories or work with like different characters or create things that I don't necessarily have in my life, or it's something I want or lacking, or like maybe over exaggerated, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And it is just like, it's really about like, you want to be we're all storytellers in whatever shape or form we are.
Right.
So the main thing is that you want to tell a story and you want to be a part of something that just goes deeper
than message. Yeah, exactly.
Just go deeper than what you actually immediately might see. So it might be like, oh my god, there was like a lesbian love scene. But it's like, it's not supposed to be seen as anything erotic. It's literally an art form in that sense. And that was what I really liked about it too, because it was very respectful. It didn't feel uncomfortable. It didn't feel weird. Because most of the time, with student films, mostly, I have so many times I have these descriptions being like, this is an unpaid short student film. It's like one of my first or whatever films, and it's gonna have partially some sort of nudity. And I was like, what does that mean? It's the same thing with
nudity.
It's the same thing with stage or film. I'm like, I'm not just gonna do it unless there's a really specific reason why it has to be there. Because a lot of the times I read scripts and I'm like, so why is she naked?
It's like we don't need to see a nipple just for shits. Like if there's a nipple, like why is the nipple out? You know what I mean? Like there has to be
some reason for it.
Which I totally get. Like I had that in Mija when she cuts her penis off. My actress didn't feel comfortable doing that part. She didn't want to show her body. So I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. So I just had her sign a agreement that I could use someone else as a body double, but it would look like it's her body, but it's not. Like and that she knows that, and that I know that, and production knows that, and there's no like I was just like worried that like, you know, it might look too real, too much like her, that she's like, you know, like I don't like that, I want to be portrayed like that naked, right? So I was worried about that, but I think it was just that communication, just like knowing like, you know, it's not going to be you, it's going to be like clear that it's not you, you know, we respect it, you respect it, like everyone's on the same page. I think
for sure
that's when it was like, it's
good. Really about communication with everything. Communication is key in life, in a job, in a workplace, in film and TV, and stage. And that's also like the thing, if you might just be thrown into literally a love scene or whatever, or rehearsal with someone on the first day, and it's gonna be like, oh yeah, you have to kiss them. I had that with the, oh my god. So with the Twisted Christmas Carol one, literally the guy who was in it was like one of my, like I really became really good friends with him because we were in both the plays at the same time, so we were constantly hanging out.
All the time together.
And we were always spending time together, and I was like, his name's Chris. Hi, Chris. We would literally have these times where I was like at the very end, there's this like dip and kiss situation, which was really cute, like for the moment. Literally just to like blow it out or whatever, because he's like madly in love with me, and I don't actually want to be with him. So this is whatever thing. Yeah. And then in the end, like whatever, like one time, whatever. And and I couldn't hold it together sometimes. It was like so funny. His character was so funny, and then I knew him as well. Right. You have to be like really like, can't laugh, and then I'd just be like, I was like, I have to kiss you. Like, love you, dude, but yeah, you just get sometimes with this. At least it was the very end, so sometimes we would just be like mocking it. So I was like, do we have to like do it right now? Right. Like if we don't, it's cool. If we do, it's also cool. I don't have a preference. I'm just saying like I'm not crazy about kissing my friend here. And it was always like totally cool, but obviously most toward the end or whatever. You just had to do it for the flow of it. So like you wouldn't be like on the actual stage moment and just being like awkward about it, or like there's something like weird about it, because if you get comfortable with it, if you're used to it and you know the person, mostly that's the thing with stage, you can literally get to know them. They're not gonna throw you into like heavy make out right now, in front of all of us, like in front of everybody, and you're just like but I'm not feeling it right now, or like this is just really weird. No, they wouldn't do that immediately on you, unless you were actually comfortable and you can just be like, hey, I would be comfortable doing it just so we can get used to it and we're not awkward about it, if you don't mind. And if you're not, then we can wait. And it's like, mostly on the first rehearsal, they wouldn't just like jump you into it. Some people do it if they're really comfortable with it, it's totally cool. But you don't have to do it. And I think with film, that's sometimes not an option, because it's just like, you have 3 days. Like,
these are 3 days. You're gonna, this is what we're doing today, you're gonna make out. And like, I even like read some things where, I think it was the movie between Robert Pattinson and Reese Witherspoon, where they're like working at a circus, elephants something.
Oh.
Fuck, what is it called? I don't remember. That movie though.
Remember Me? Remember?
No.
Remember Me. Wasn't that one?
What
movie?
Yeah, but that was with
circus thing.
Amanda Seyfried, I think. No,
I do not know.
Okay,
anyway.
So Reese Witherspoon has moved Robert Pattinson, and they had to have a kissing makeout scene, and I guess he was really sick when they were shooting. So she was like, in the interview, she was just like, she's like, I really wish we didn't have to shoot that scene. He was so sick, and like he kept having to like blow his nose, and it was like super runny and shit. And I was like,
now with COVID, you couldn't even do that.
No, exactly. But this was before COVID, so you could do it.
That's ridiculous. Like you could literally, if someone is sick, you shouldn't be having to make out.
No, then I was thinking about that. I was like, damn, like what if you had a really shitty, like, or gross like kissing session?
Oh, you definitely do.
Like it happens?
Oh, you definitely do. Or like you just have to like kiss people that you don't actually like or you're not attracted to, or there's like certain things. I mean, obviously for the most part they would want you to have like some kind of chemistry with somebody, but you can have different chemistries with people. You can have like a friendship chemistry, or you can have like a lover's chemistry, or like whatever, or something like mysterious between you. But it doesn't immediately have to be like you're gonna be the hottest at making out together, and I'm gonna like love it immediately. That's like a thing. So sometimes they do want to see you making out with someone at an audition if it's really important. I think they mostly do that though for like bigger productions, TV shows where you're gonna be like making out with them a lot.
Right, where it's like
so it's like
interest and you're like,
it's like maybe we want to like, mostly if you were very new, maybe they maybe want to know, even though I don't think it's necessary, but
do they expect you to know like how to kiss on stage? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming they're thinking like, well, yeah, you've had your first kiss before. But I'm also like, that's also a big thing to just assume. Like, I don't know, not everyone's like swapping spit with people.
Yeah, right? Not everyone. And there's also like the thing there's like people who have done things like as an actor or as a character or whatever that they haven't done in real life.
Yeah.
And that's also
like really interesting. I
and
never thought about that.
That's different because I believe that, I mean, I always try to take something out of like reality as much as possible. So when you prepare for something, you try to think of like a certain thing that happened in your past or something that you felt before that you're trying to relate it to, because you want to come from like a real place, like not immediately being like, I'm not gonna be the Joker and then like, you know, become the Joker. But if I am like, I went through many heartbreaks. I'd like, even if you made peace with it in your personal life, which you should, and get over it and everything, you might still like be able to channel certain like feelings of just like thinking back and being like, this is how I felt in that moment, and this is similar to how this character feels right now, how I'm feeling at this as this character. This is how I want to portray it, or this is where it's coming from. And it's all about the preparation part, like taking time to yourself. Like it's also where it comes like more from. This is more like the Meisner technique, where they make you like literally either do a certain activity, or you prepare and like you go outside and maybe you have to listen to a certain song or like to something like that's aggravating you or like making you feel a certain way. It doesn't have to be aggravation. But whatever you're feeling in that moment or supposed to feel in that moment where you have to get to that place, you like sit down and think about what the situation is right now, being like, this is the circumstances, this is what's happening. And then it's basically just a repetition when you come in. So when you come in for like what they do with Meisner, it's supposed to be like, so you are in the moment, you're listening to the other person. You have to be a really good listener. So if you don't listen to the other person, what they're saying, how are you gonna respond?
Exactly.
And that's what
acting is really all about. It's just listening and responding and reacting.
Yeah, that's it.
That's literally
if you can't do that,
that's like
nothing else matters.
The code of acting. Like it's just, you know,
it's
listening, responding, and reacting.
And that's why when you prepare enough, when you go over like the questions, you know what's happening, you know what you want out of the scene, what your objective is, and what your optimal situation is that could come out of it, you know exactly how you get into it, and then how to be in the moment for it and just focus on the other person and what they're giving you. Because if you can't do that, then you literally did your presentation for nothing, because people can tell if like you're not really listening,
when you're not connecting to in the scene, or like you can totally tell that too. Like,
oh, I had those times in class where people literally called bullshit on each other and just be like, I didn't believe it.
Well,
you didn't really listen to her.
Even in some movies, like I'll watch some films.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, why are we pretending like they're like dating or like they're married? Like I'm like, these people. It's not even like just the acting. It's also the typecasting. It's just like the way they're just trying to like put them together to like you know, have it make sense, but it doesn't make sense. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of disappointing, but whatever. That's casting director's job.
You know, be better.
So you started theater first though, and then you went into acting. So how many years have you been doing theater versus film?
So I always thought, I consciously remember that I really wanted to start doing it, and I did like for real, like theater every single year starting at 8. But then my mom told me that apparently when I was 4, she already stuck me into a play. And
so
I've been doing it since I really came out of the room. I was there. I was on stage. They were like,
cries.
I'm dramatic, as always. I literally came to this world being a drama queen. I was made for the
Drama.
stage.
And the movie
drama.
Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen with
Oh,
Lindsay Lohan.
yes.
I'm like, me.
That's me. That's literally me. I mean, ever since I was 4, I started ballet, so I was on stage dancing.
Okay, so you always had that like confidence of being and performing in front of people. It was never
I love it.
Like you never like you can't. Can you remember an age where you were like, I was nervous, but then I did it, and then it like.
The older I get,
Okay.
to be honest, the older I get, or if I would get into a situation where it was literally like everything was on me and everyone would like look at me, it was like an important monologue or an important scene, I would be like, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up. I think the older I get, the more nerve-wracking it gets, because when you're younger, you have just a certain confidence with you. It comes and you take it and you go with it. And then the older you get, the more like self-conscious you get with like everything that you do. So I think there it started where I would be like nervous, but I would still like.
But you didn't care what people thought of you, because like as a kid you don't care, and then
No.
as you get older,
The more you care.
And then, social media, so you're like, oh.
It also depends on what I would do. If I did it for school, I didn't care. If I did it for actually like a theater now, like if I do a theater production now, I'm definitely more nervous because I'm like, who's gonna watch me? And then I invite like my friends and stuff who are all actors or like in some way in the industry, entertainment industry, and I'm like, I don't want them to think that I'm not doing this right. And that does happen, but you just gotta shake it off. But for sure, apparently when I was 4, my mom put me in like one of the plays that they did like every summer, and I was a dog, but I had lines. And then, and I was like, why, how did I learn my lines, Mom? And she was like, well, I would like tell you, you gave me the script, and I would tell you the line, you would repeat it, and you just knew it, and you just did it on the thing. So and I was like, oh my God, I'm adorable. I'm like,
you're like precious.
I was a precious child.
I'm a child star.
Literally. No, I had this, like, Mom has like really embarrassing footage of me that will come out one day.
No, I love it though, because I used to be like that too. Like I remember, like I would make my parents blast music, and they're like they just got a new surround system, and I was like, play Shakira, and then I would like belly dance, and I would be like dancing. I used to think I wanted to be a dancer, and then and then I thought I wanted to be a singer because Shakira, and then I like begged my parents. I was like, can you please adopt Shakira? And then my mom was like, we're the same age, like why would I adopt Shakira? I didn't get the age like frame back then, and I was like, why can't we adopt her? Like she's so amazing, because I just wanted to be like around her music and stuff. And then as I got older, I started watching Bollywood movies.
Oh yeah, same.
And I was fucking fascinated by like the wardrobe, the dancing, and how they always would fall in love. And I was just like, God, that chemistry, like I was just like, I loved it. So I was that's what got me into film. And I was like, you know what? Like I was like, I want to be in control of all of that. Like I want to control like how it looks, and that's kind of like that was the gateway of like film. But I still thought I wanted to be an actress back then, because I didn't know what a director did. I didn't know like the titles. So I was like, do I want to be an actress? Do I want to be a cinematographer? Like I don't know. And then I tried acting, and I did drama in class, and I was in school, and I was like, this is not for me. I was like,
and that is okay. To be honest, it's totally okay. I think it's just
it's fun, but it's not for me.
Yeah, I
like
think to understand it. I think I think the main thing for directors, and I say that about every director I meet, is like, I think it's really important that you have some sort of like acting experience, and I think that's why they also sometimes like try and make you like act, as a director, so you like have an understanding of it. Yeah. So you like know what we go through, and you know how to like talk to us.
And I like that I do too, because. Well, with plays especially, more with plays, because I tried plays more than I did with film, because like like drama in school is more of a thing. They don't really do like TV acting in like middle school and high school and stuff. But I definitely learned how to like get over that like tingly feeling before going on stage because of the drama classes. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know if this is really for me. Like I'm kind of shy to like just be like, like singing. I don't have a great singing voice.
Oh my God. You don't have to, but like there's so many plays you don't even have to sing. There's so many people who are amazing actors and they can't sing. Not that they couldn't sing, but like singing is something you really have to like get yourself into. It's a lot of work, and I'm even out of it a little bit, since like I used to be like really, really good in like 2016, and then I've been slacking. So
that's something you have to practice. It's like piano, like an instrument. Like you always have to practice.
It's literally your voice is your instrument.
Yeah.
So, and also with acting, there's voice training you have to do because.
But do you feel like you have to practice acting as much as like you would have to practice, like, let's say, singing and dancing to stay like with it?
Yeah.
Or do you think like once you got it, like if you're like a well-seasoned actor, like, okay, like do you think like Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are still like rehearsing, or do you think they're like, nah, I got this?
I would say they're still rehearsing, and I think they all have an acting coach, because acting coaches make good money. I'm pretty sure that the people still have acting coaches, just like famous singers have vocal coaches.
Yeah,
they have acting coaches for actors. For like, no matter how big you are, you always have to like, it's a muscle that you train. And it doesn't matter with like, either it's dancing where you're actually training a muscle, or you're like, where you're singing where you're training your vocal cords. It's the same thing with like acting, you have a skill. That's why a lot of people, when they get out of even like film school or like going to acting school, they always still take classes. I mean, I haven't been taking classes in a while, and I definitely miss it, and I'm even thinking about trying getting back into it like that. Or you can't do it yourself. There's certain things you can do with just like learning monologues and then like filming yourself, or like practicing that way, or like keep on reading books about acting, or go and see plays, watch movies, watch shows, learn here and there, see what they're doing, watch behind the scenes of actors like talk about acting. Stuff like that really helps. But for sure, I mean, the best practice is just doing it. So that's why I also wanna like even just maybe audition, even if I don't take a role or don't get it or whatever, because with me now being back in my masters and stuff, I might not even have the time to do everything, but I at least wanna, if there's an audition, I'll like at least try it
out there.
Because in some shape or form, I learn something, I get stage present, or I get film present possibly, or I just like get myself on the radar, or like keep practicing. Because also like obviously auditions are always like a little bit different than when you actually are doing the job. But that's a whole like different muscle you have to train. But you gotta keep doing it, because I can't just get out of school later and then be like, now I wanna get back into like doing all these things, like going auditions and doing films on the side, and I'm like, can't do it. So it's definitely always important to still keep training that muscle, and that's why a lot of people who like haven't been acting for a while for whatever reason, I had to have this conversation with my friends who are like, oh, but like I need to get like into a class again maybe, and I also don't have my headshots, and that's just why I haven't been doing it, and I'm like focusing on this and that.
Basically, if you let excuses pile up, there's always going to be something else.
And the longer you wait, the worse it's going to get.
And that's exactly the same thing with directing, or like honestly any role in the filmmaking industry. It's like, if you can sit here and be like, oh, like, you know, I can't do this. Even with COVID, like it was easy to just like fall and be like, there's no gigs right now, like I can't like work on set. And then you like fall into this like pattern of like I can't, and then it's hard to get out of it. Like you don't think so, but it actually like is a thing and it happens. So honestly, like even if you feel like you don't have the time for it, or even if you feel like, oh, like I don't know, how's this gonna benefit me, like if it gives you exposure, if it can help you in like any way, like any little way, like even if it's not gonna like be paying you all this money, like just do it, go for it. You never know who you're gonna meet on that set,
at least do auditions. Because most of the time you might not get them, and you have to do like hundreds of auditions before you like get like the one role. Just do it. Just do whatever falls into your lap, and you're gonna learn as you go. Because what happens too, a lot of people who are like either a lot on stage or a lot on film, going into the other thing will like confuse you, because then you're either like too loud for the camera. That happened to me.
Has that ever happened when you've been like on a film set and they're like, turn it down a little bit? And has it happened where you're on like stage and then like
you gotta elevate it? Oh yeah, for sure. I mean now I think I'm at a point where I can like balance it out and then be like, okay, this is what this is. But I did have a really hard time my first like 2 semesters with like film school, where I was like in front of a camera the entire time, where I was like, this is really close to my face. And this is like all up in my space here. And then I do a lot of facial expressions, if you can't tell. And I'm very expressive with like everything, so that might be really big for a camera right into my face. So,
like you'll really see it, but on stage it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So when I the way I am as a person is also sometimes the way I act. So when I'm like a certain to like tone it down sometimes for the camera. Mostly if it's like close up, and I would have like certain motions. My teacher would be like, don't stop. Like I would do the thing, but I would like wrinkle my forehead maybe too much or something. Like it was like really like up in there.
I would overthink it.
And I would be like, oh my god, don't wrinkle.
Yeah.
But you have to be like you have like sometimes little things.
Yeah.
That seem little, that would be too little on stage, are like big on film. So
Right.
you really
That's
have to like work with the people around you and the director as well to just be like, okay, what's too much? What's my frame?
Yeah.
Then you kind of get a feel of like, okay, I cannot move out of here, or like I can just be like here, like throwing things
like,
around.
That's good, but like tone it
Or
down.
like if I'm angry, or like even just like having a certain look or a certain tone is gonna give it the effect that you need versus like throwing things or whatever. Depending on your shot and whatever it is. But and then with stage you obviously like can go the bigger sometimes the better, and then they'll tone you down if you're too big.
Right.
So it's always better to just be big and express big, and if you do activities, try to do them as big as possible. So it'll help you actually project and also just get it out there and just people to see, because you also have like facial expressions. So even if you're if someone is not immediately right there, they still have to see them. So you might have to actually be like instead of like you might have to put your entire back into it. If you have a certain like expression that's happening on your face, it might not just read as well as if you just do.
Right, because like on camera, like if they were like, okay, act surprised, like on camera you could be like, you know, and it would still. But like I feel like on stage, if you want the person in the back, you have to be like, like it has so much more,
so
like,
much
movement and
bigger for real. For sure. And also that's like kind of what it's made for. Is like playing with an audience, and then with film, it's more about like you're just there with yourself and you're pretending the camera's not there, but it's there.
That's what it is. When you're on stage, you know the audience is there and they're kind of like living it with you. But on film, it's like you're trying to like there's people there, but in a sense you're trying to pretend like no one's there, and like not even a camera. Like in a sense you're just trying to pretend like this is really you and this is your life and this is like what's happening and no one's there. So that's really interesting how different that is.
Yeah, for sure. It's very different, and like you get mostly it happens mostly with comedy, but also with drama where like you get right away the response from the people, so you know how you're doing. And like how good or how bad or whatever. Just
but I feel like that could also be bad when you're on stage and let's say you don't hear the reaction you thought you were gonna get. Like, would that throw you off though? Like maybe you just had a tough crowd that day.
It slightly could, but you just can't let it. Like that's the thing that you also have to learn. It's gonna be like in every performance, it's gonna be different. You're gonna have like. There's always like this kind of like a rule where people are like, okay, let's say you have like 3 days of performance. So like the first day is great, the second day is meh, and the third day is great again. So always like the Saturday performances, if you have like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it goes the Saturday performances where you're like, So I try to always get people on like, come Friday, Sunday.
That
Please
makes sense.
come Friday, Sunday. I mean, it's not the worst, and it doesn't always have to be that way. It doesn't always have to be like a completely horrible mess or like something that you didn't like, but most likely you really try the first time, then the second, like you really try and it goes great, you're amazing, you're whatever, you have like all this confidence, then Saturday goes like not as well as you wanted it to be, and then Sunday you try again so hard because Saturday didn't go as well, and you're like happy.
You want to end high too.
For example, the plays that they do at the theater right now that I'm part of, we do like how many? I think 6 weekends or something of shows. So that's like nothing compared to if you do like a Broadway theater play or like Broadway musical where you have like 80 shows or like 80 weeks or whatever that is.
That is insane.
And you
like
have
80 weekends
you have like
of
2 shows in a day, and you're like
right, because you have like the early show.
You have matinee, and then you have the evening show, and you have like. You might have like extra like. And it's common to have a body or no a back stunt double. Is that the name? And like an understudy. Understudies or.
Is it as common as
alternates.
like they make it seem like like in Glee, like when we were watching Glee back when it was like really popular.
Oh my God.
You know, when they moved to New York and then she's
Oh,
like
for real?
about to do the play and stuff, and she has like an understudy or she starts something like that. That's the person working like in case you get sick or something. Like, is that still really?
For the most part, honestly, understudies, and they try to, like with my theater, try to call them alternates because they want to be nice.
Right. That's kind
They
of like,
wanna be like-
they don't say extras anymore. They say
No, they're
background
like,
actors.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, you're not an extra, and you're not an understudy.
You're not extra.
You'll get a spot. So what they try to do is like if they have alternates, it's like more like, yes, sometimes it caters to like, oh, this person is not here
Yeah.
this weekend,
Yeah.
or like they can't be performing for this weekend. So you're like, okay, we cast a second person for it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they also just like, if they're like, oh, we really like this person too, but not
Yeah.
enough to be like the main person.
Right.
Then they're like, okay, like you can be the alternate for this weekend. For example, like that's what happened with like me with London Suite 2. Like I'm assistant director, but I'm also cast in it for
Got
like
it.
an alternate. So I'm in the last weekend. I'm in the closing weekend, and I'm like, thank you very much. You trust me that much. You're gonna be closing weekend, closing the show.
Wow, that's exciting though.
Yeah, because normally it would have been like that I was actually replacing the main cast
Yeah.
person because she wasn't gonna be there for that, but then COVID happened. So, and then the whole schedule changed, and we had also like people
Yeah.
change roles and stuff because of that, because a year later people have different lives, or like
Yeah.
things happen, or they're like not
It's true.
comfortable yet coming back to the theater for their own reasons. So you had that thing of like, yeah, I can't commit myself to a play for like an entire year. So
I mean, that is
entire
quite the
year
commitment.
later, it's definitely. I'm very surprised that
Yeah.
many people actually stuck with it. But yeah, that's what
I mean,
happens.
I think everyone was passionate about it and excited too. You
Oh,
know?
for
so
sure.
That's probably,
But yeah, alternates are very important because sometimes it's either really about like the people's schedules. If there's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm literally here all the time, but there's just 1 or 2 weekends
can't
where
do
I
it.
can make
Yeah.
it. Or like, oh, I also got cast in this, or like this and this happens. And also they're trying to get as many people like
yeah.
together, mostly if you're part of a specific company with
Right.
theater and stuff. They
Yeah.
want to have as
They
many
want-
people
right, they
of the
don't want it
members to be in it, and it's like fun and it rotates, and then
Right.
like there's different people being in different parts of the play. It's great,
Right.
but yeah, it's definitely a common thing, and I think with bigger productions, it's even a bigger thing because what if like mostly if
What
it's
if-
musical
yeah, what if
theater,
something happens? They
if
break their
someone
leg?
if someone trips. Or if someone
Yeah.
like actually has a certain sort of accident
Right.
or is not feeling well, or
Right.
mostly now with COVID, I'm pretty sure too that they're like
Extra.
even more careful
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Being like, we have to have a second person in case, but you have to be on standby. Like you have to be able to jump in anytime if that person can't come in for whatever reason. Even if
Yeah.
they said it was gonna be their day to perform.
Right.
But if something
shit.
happens to them, and that's the same with me too. Like if something happens to her name is Sasha. If something happens to Sasha, like I have to be like immediately be like, I'm gonna be on there.
Yeah.
So I had that too with the Twisted Christmas Carol production. At the same thing where I was like, I was only on for 1 weekend, but I was always also there every weekend for the other play.
Right.
And so I would always like check my phone, being like, if anything happens,
If anything
like
happens, yeah.
I can be there.
Yeah.
There was one time where she thought she might not be able to make it, and I had to be on standby just
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
And then she could make it anyway, so it was
It
fine.
was fine.
But you have to be always like
Ready
on
to go
call,
on call,
in case.
which is a lot too, because like a lot of people don't like being on call. A lot of people want to just
No.
know like the schedule, like
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, for sure. Like you have to otherwise you just have to be aware that
Yeah.
your plans might change the last second. So if
Right.
you have something going on, so I wouldn't necessarily
Make
schedule
plans.
schedule any plans that you can change.
Right.
Like if you have any
No,
plans,
like,
then
commitments.
it can be like okay. But if you have for example a concert planned,
It's not happening. You're not going to any
I
concert.
would, you gotta be very careful that, it might happen.
Yeah.
You might be called,
You might
and
be
you can't just
called
be
in.
like, no.
What about post? Is post like very different? Because like in a sense, you're not editing anything. It's like when the play's done, it's done, right?
Oh yeah, when the play's done, it's done, and then you're in the theater hall.
What does that mean?
You're depressed.
Oh, you spend
literally.
so much time together every day. And
Oh, you perform all
that's
the
how I
time.
feel too when I make movies. It's like
Oh,
you
and it
spend
happens
so
with
much,
movies too,
so
for
much
sure.
prep, so much prep, and like it's all you think about for so long. And then you're working the actress, and you're like meeting with them like every day, and you're like talking to them all the time, and you're texting, and you're group chatting, you're zooming, and then all of a sudden it's just like silent.
Yeah. And you're like, nothing is
And
happening.
it's like, hey.
I'm like, what do I do with my life now? And then it's like, you spend so much time with those people, and then they're like, too busy to hang out with you.
Yeah. And it's like, do we make a real connection, or is it just because of work? Like, what is it? Like,
Yeah,
you
you're
know
like,
what I
gotta be
mean?
I don't really like her connection.
So I mean, it does sound like it's pretty similar as well.
Oh
with
yeah,
post.
we
Pre
just
and post sound
call
pretty-
it the theater hall. That's
Yeah.
like it's like basically call it that since like my high school
Yeah.
theater days, because that's what we always would call it. We would just be
Yeah.
like,
And it's like the amazing thing with like
we're done.
plays and films is like it's such a bonding and like group team effort that it's
Oh
like
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like when you're used to spending so much time together and then all of a sudden like you just go back to like, all right, back to your regular lives, whatever that consists of. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It definitely like puts you in a funk. Like I totally get that. So it's actually really interesting how much there's in common because I was like maybe it's like really different because like you know, but I feel like where it's really different is like the actual like performing time when you're like on stage when you're filming.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's when the differences come in. But I think
Oh,
there's a lot of
100%.
similarities like for prep and like post. How you feeling after? Like,
Yeah, and at least with film, you still have, depending on what position you're in, you're still like
Yeah.
working on something for a very
Right,
long time
right.
until it's absolutely done, and then you're like, maybe then you're like, okay, on to the
what do you
next
think
project.
pays more though? Like acting in a film or
Film
acting in
for
a
sure.
play? Really?
Film for sure. I
Really?
think play it would have to be like the big. Like, I don't think that Broadway actors
Yeah.
make as much as film actors.
Mm.
I don't think so. I think there's like some ways that I think they also do
Unless
very
you're like
exploited.
Hamilton, like getting paid top dollar for that shit.
It really depends. I'm 100% sure that it has to be like, it really depends on like the production for sure. But
Yeah.
mostly like with what I know with Broadway is like people are like always saying how it's so
They're getting
horrible
underpaid.
because they're getting underpaid.
Which is fucked up because they're putting so much work in there, rehearsing so much, and then all those weekends they have to put in.
I definitely think I rehearse way more for a play than I do for a film.
That was another.
Unless like it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I haven't been in like a feature film yet, like, right? No, I haven't been like in a feature film yet, so I don't really know that process of like 5 days or longer, just
Yeah.
like sitting there
right.
pounding it out. But when it comes to like short films, obviously it's like it's done and gone. You
And
rehearse.
they pay you like a flat rate versus like
Mm-hmm.
in a play. Is it more like hourly or is it like a flat rate also? Like,
There's also a flat rate.
Okay.
With my theater, because it's not a big company, they
Yeah.
really don't pay you much. And
Right.
also, I think me also not going into it, I'm probably not gonna get paid right now anyway because I'm international and I'm like not on my working visa
Working
anymore.
visa.
So when
So
I was
stupid
in
how
my
that
working
works,
visa,
yeah.
I did get paid, and like
Yeah.
they always give you also the option because they don't pay you much. They pay you like
Yeah.
$15 per show. In my play right now because it's a
Yeah.
small play, and a lot of people do like some of them are like actors also outside of it,
Right.
but most of them literally do acting for fun.
Right. It's
as
more
a
of
hobby.
Like, yeah.
It's not
To
really
gain
like
experience and
exactly.
and meet new people.
There's some people who are like actual legit actors who do work outside of it and like
Yeah.
they make money and whatsoever.
Yeah.
And this is then more like, oh, this is my side gig because I wanted to be on like stage and play and like meet people and whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that the people we hired for The Man Who Came to Dinner last year, for that bigger downstairs play
Yeah.
that I was in every week, they definitely got paid more because they were big actors.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I was like, you're not gonna.
Which
pay
kind
them
of
$50
sucks
an hour.
too, though, that like you don't get equally paid as well. Like they do it on like experience and stuff, and like
Oh, for sure, but I mean,
it's all part. It's trust me, I experience it too. I mean, shit. When I apply for like these directing gigs on like the studio websites, like for Universal, and they're like, oh, we want 36 years of experience. I'm like, I'm only 24. Like that's my whole life. I'm not.
How am I supposed to have experience? Like in the
I was
beginning,
like, just give me the experience. Like,
like,
oh my
I
God,
want
so
the
annoying.
experience. Like,
Yeah, it's been really frustrating because it at the end of the day, it really does come down to like how much have you done, who do you know, and how hard are you willing to work.
yeah, it's in everything. That's in everything
Yeah,
with
it
the
is.
entertainment industry. I think like generally in life too, but in entertainment
Yeah,
industry
100%.
specifically, it's all about networking.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you give out there, but yeah, for sure. Like I think that definitely what makes the money, commercials. To be
Yes,
honest. Out of
commercials,
everything, it's
totally.
commercials. That's
Yeah.
why a lot of actors.
Because they just fucking play over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
Like like Flo.
Oh my God.
She's like the face of Progressive. She makes so much money now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
A lot of people start acting, they don't even know what they're doing. And they do it for the money part, and that's like where you go into commercials rather than actually like wanting to be like into movies and things. There's always going to be people who do certain things for all the wrong reasons or all the all the right reasons. But of course you do a certain type of job because you want to get paid because you want to do this for a living. So yeah, it's definitely not the theater that you're gonna get that from, but it's more like, it's then more the part where you go to of like actually just being.
Yeah.
And just living your best life on stage.
Yeah.
As stressful as theater can be, I think film can be way more stressful because
Really?
you have like, because you also have like all those days where as an actor you just sit around all day, and you don't really have that with like, and you have like 12-hour days, and you don't have that with rehearsing. You have like 3-hour max of rehearsal depending on how long the play is, but normally like you stay like maybe 3 hours max, because also if you have a big ensemble then you literally go from like scene to scene and be like, okay, if we don't need you today you don't have to come in, or like if it's like this half of the scene or whatever. Or even if you are there the entire time, it's definitely not 12-hour days.
No.
Or like 16-hour days.
Yeah.
So you literally just rehearse for 3 days or whatever a week, and then you 3 days or like that day and like a couple hours, whatever, every week. And then you go in and you like, when you perform, it's like an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe max, maybe 3. I've never done that long of a play. But like normally you stay like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Maybe you come in like an hour or an hour and a half before showtime, so you get ready and stuff. But yeah, it's like the half the time that you spend on set at least, where you're just sitting around waiting.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people don't know that. Like when they're not in the film industry, they're like, wait, there's like this much downtime? Like actors just sit around, and it's like, because you gotta set up for each scene, and each scene has different lighting and different shits going on and all this stuff.
And then you're like in makeup, and then you have to wait around, and then you have to be on call though, so you can't really like you can always like do 10 things at the same time, or like have something on the side to do, because you also want to be prepared depending on what you do that day. If you have like a really heavy, like with Kennedy's, with a really heavy scene, you gotta be like, you're literally gonna be like, I'm gonna be isolated, I'm gonna go away and just...
because it puts, it's emotional on everyone, like, especially the actor, like, actress who's going through it, putting themselves into that emotional state of, you know, something traumatic happening to you, which, like, it's fascinating, because I'm like, how do you like, bring this performance, and then all of a sudden you just have to, like, go and be like, hey guys,
and just,
like,
and just be like, hi, I'm back. And that's why it's really hard. It's why a lot of actors can't do that. That's why Meryl Streep is literally like, sometimes when she has a really uncomfortable role that she's playing, she's not very comfortable to be around. That's what you hear, because like some people take it very seriously depending on their methods and how they work. It's like, I have to be in this character, and sometimes people take it too far, to be honest. I think mostly if you do it for a while, you can be able to like switch it on and off, but it's not an immediately thing of a second. So sometimes you want your time and just be like, I'm gonna take my time, please be respectful, I just want to be focusing on getting this like character together. But then you have to be also able to be a real human being, and then if you switch from like scene to scene, that's why you also have to be like, okay, I have this scene now from there to there, okay, now I have to go back, maybe change wardrobe, maybe change my makeup or whatever, and then I also have to like go over my lines again to know where I'm at, and then I have to prepare for that. Maybe it's a super happy scene, you never know, like sometimes they're trying.
That's what I was gonna ask you as well, like let's just have 2 questions. If, let's say, like, how would you give an example of like a different an emotion for like stage versus film? Like it could be any emotion you want to do. Like I just want to see like the different types of
like you want to see the difference of what you do film versus stage?
Like
for an emotion?
Just anything. Like,
okay, let's take an easy one. If you say you're really happy, for example, with stage you can just really like, you can be like maybe really jumpy, or just very like, maybe you do a little like humming thing on the side. You can add something depending on like what the scene allows you to do. But I would just be like, just like whatever, just like doing whatever. If I, for example, I'm folding clothes, and I'm just like, maybe I bob my head extra
like
for
whistling,
it, and just be like whatever, humming, whistling, whatever the fuck, and then just like literally, or like just expressing how
Yeah.
happy I am, you can tell.
Right.
From like even a further away if you don't
Yeah.
immediately like see my face or whatever. And then obviously with the camera part, it's more like minimizing that, I guess. So you
Yeah.
just like, maybe to let you hum or not, you have to like see whatever they want to do. But like having a certain thing that you're doing and just like toning it down to like the point of maybe I don't do a huge bob, maybe I
Right.
do a little one, maybe I
Right.
don't, maybe
Yeah.
I'm just like really ecstatic and you can just tell because I'm like just like getting things done, whatever. It's like way more toned down,
Yeah.
but with the stage, it's like you barely have any limits because you just can go really big about it.
Right.
And just maybe you have like little laughs in there, maybe you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Because with
Like a
film, you
giggle.
can't always like have 10,000 things going on
Right.
unless it's like somewhat accounted for because
Yeah.
otherwise the script dude's gonna have a hard time.
Yeah.
With stage you can improvise it on the day off what you're feeling like,
Right.
and then with stage with film you're more like focused on like, okay, so here I'm gonna maybe have like a slight smirk here and this
Yeah.
thing, and then I have like maybe I tilt a little bit to the side, and I have
Right.
like I'm thinking about like something, so I'm like
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. Maybe I like giggle in this part.
Do you have to know accents, or like do they make you kind of like you should know, or you should at least try?
You
and,
should.
Like,
The better, like mostly these days, like the better you know different accents, the better. Like you,
Right, the more
the more
versatile you
versatile
are.
you can be, the more
Yeah.
you can be put in different things. Mostly
Right.
with plays, a lot of really good plays are like set in different areas. Like
Yes.
there's a lot of like British plays or just they play in Britain for whatever
I
reason,
know.
or a lot of like Southern plays or plays that take place in New York
Yeah.
or whatever. Like there's so many of those. So if you have like a specific accent that will work with it, the
Roll with
better.
it.
The
Yeah.
better. And people surprise you. Like sometimes people you look at them and you're
You're
like,
like they would never sound
like you would never sound like that. And then there's like people who totally pull it off, and it's like, you work with it. It's great. No, accents are definitely an important part, and I'm still working on that.
What are like if you were like, okay, you need like to know like 3 basic, like every actor should know this. Like you would say like know how to improv,
Yeah, for sure.
know how to do accents.
Yeah, at least try and have, if you have like a really like hard one, like if it's for example like Irish and Scottish are so hard to do. They're so specific.
That is so hard.
And like and then the play that I'm in right now, that I'm working on for London Suite by Neil Simon. There's like people who have like a Scottish accent and people who have an Irish accent. And I literally one of them.
You're like,
I was like,
excuse me.
and one of the times.
How deep? Like, do they tell you like any tips? Like how? Okay, let's
Like
say,
it's not me. I'm not doing it.
Can you do
but
British?
I literally. So I did it for that one play. I think I've gotten better, but I haven't really like practiced in a while.
how, like
I think the best way to do it for yourself, and I literally, it depends on if I need it or if I
Yeah.
have to use it and stuff.
Yeah.
Even in London Suite, I'm one of the only ones that is actually like supposed to be American. So it's really funny. I'm like, I don't even have to know an accent. Yeah, like, I'm just still trying
great,
to get
that's
the
great.
American down. If you can't tell, I'm from Austria, so I'm not even American.
we're
so
both
this
from
is...
Austria.
There we are.
Yeah, we're both Persian.
Definitely, it's harder. It's like an escape. It's basically.
Yeah, but it's
um,
almost therapeutic too. I feel like if you're an actress and you just want to like escape your
Oh,
own
for
reality.
sure.
you know?
But you gotta be very careful with that. I mean, we know.
You're like you might not come
You
back.
just know those horror stories is like one
Wait,
of the
what horror stories?
like people who give themselves too much to a character and then
Oh,
go Heath Ledger
like crazy,
is the
yeah.
main example you can put out
That's
there.
true.
If you give yourself too much to a character, people even if we would go into like just actor preparation
Yeah.
in the sense of this is all over the place, I'm sorry. We go into actor preparation of different methods
Yeah.
and techniques.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people like start fighting sometimes, and they have their all the different that differentiate them a lot because you could do Stella Adler, you can do Meisner, you can
Right.
do
Method
Stanislavski,
acting.
you can do everything you think there is.
Right.
Some certain different approach to freaking acting, and it's
Yeah.
it caters to you, because I don't believe that there's one right technique. I like to take something from everything, and how I personally prepare for literally everything is just that I read the script or the signs that I get. I look at what is basically given in the script. What
information about the character?
Yeah. The basically just the basic notes on what is there, the given circumstances, like what is the script giving me, because you have to go off what the writer gave you, like, and you know that as a writer too, like you wrote this in for a reason,
you didn't write it just so nobody like everybody would have been like,
you know, whatever,
she doesn't want this person,
it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't really matter if I talk a certain way, or if I were like just perceive myself in that moment, something like that. Like, all those characteristics I play in with it. Like, even if the character has certain tics or whatever, you can't just be like, I don't think my character would do that. Like, if it's in the script, you gotta go with it. So you go from there, you see what is there, what it's giving to you, and then you just go over like, okay, you read it a couple times, kind of get an idea of like what the personality of this person would be like, and you go over questions, and that's basically based off of...
Do you come up with the questions, or is the director giving you
No, it's definitely the Stanislavski method. Uta Hagen basically adapted it as well into just... And they are all over the internet. You just Google Stanislavski questions. There's 9 questions, and you basically just be like, who is this person? What are they doing? What are they here for?
I should ask myself that. Like,
it's like life.
What am I doing? Questions. Who am I?
Who am I? What do I want? Exactly.
That's actually good. Like, that's because it does make you ask those questions, and then like you learn more information about like maybe that like information that wouldn't say in the script necessarily, especially with a short script. Like, you know, there's gonna be information about the character, but maybe not as much as you would like. Because it's a short story. But it's also cool. You can like kind of take your own and like what's written in the script and kind of form this whole character. Do you feel like with working directors in film and then working directors with stage production, like, are they more like hands-on with you, or is it more like they watch you like are you rehearsing and then they're watching you and then they're like, okay, like run it from the top, and then they give their notes, or are they like working with the main characters, the supporting characters, one-on-one? Like, how does that work?
It depends. Every director is different in either film or in stage. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own preferences. What I would like to work with, if they give me the choice, is basically like, I mean, I obviously studied my script as good as possible. Mostly I'm not immediately off book on the first rehearsal.
No, that's not really
let's say I'm like familiar enough so I can like actually act, because that's also like a misconception. I don't think you have to be completely off book to like being able to be in a moment, but you want to at least be as familiar enough so you can like not constantly
be looking at the
into your
paper.
face.
Which has happened to me too. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, you don't have to like know all the lines, but like for first rehearsal,
be familiar enough to like
but then it has happened to me where it's kind of like I'm watching them read the script and I'm just like, this is pointless.
I'm like,
I don't need to be here watching.
We're not gonna do that. But yeah, so I'm familiar enough to know what basically is happening in the scene, and so you can also like, you don't want to be completely off script, because you do want to be able to like write down like blocking
notes and stuff.
When it comes to stage, you have to know your blocking. It's not gonna be like, we're gonna go from this angle to this angle. It's basically, you have to like know your entire room and what is there. And even if you don't have the exact furniture yet or the exact layout, you at least like kind of mark it for yourself, being like, this is where this is going to be, and you like mark it out with like certain other chairs or other things.
That's kind of similar to like rehearsing for film too. Because it's like you don't always know like where you're gonna shoot yet, what the location's gonna look like. I mean, it's happened to me. I literally was rehearsing in here too, and I'm like, pretend this is the kitchen. It's like the freaking washing machine.
This is that is.
And like, just you have an imagination, right? Well,
just think this is where you have to go by this part. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, unlock the door. Like, this is the, and they're like, okay, like trying to get into it. But it is similar.
Just getting into your body is definitely also a way of like easier to actually memorizing and getting the lines down and getting a feel of the situation, and not just like saying lines and stepping to a certain point. Like actually doing it out of whatever is there. So what a lot of the times what they would do with productions that I've been on, at least with stage,
Right.
is that they basically just be like, okay, just we're gonna go through it. We're gonna go through this certain scene. You mostly go scene by scene. You don't just be like the entire play. Whoever does that, you're crazy.
I know, right? That seems like
a lot. So either you go through a portion of a scene, or you say like, okay, like this scene is really long. Obviously, you might chop it down to.
Right.
But if you can't just do the entire scene because it's not too crazy, you can just be like, okay, start the scene. See whatever you're gonna want to do with it, because sometimes you prepared certain things, so you made your own thoughts, and you went through it, basically being like, okay, so I know that I'm gonna come into this scene with doing something. So I'm just gonna pretend I'm doing that thing that is in the script.
Right.
And then you basically just go from there, whatever is there, and then you go through it once, and then you get notes basically being like, okay, yeah, this worked, this didn't, like, let's go from here, let's go through this, and like, just walking through basically just a rough blocking situation of what we were thinking this could work. We know you have to be by this line because that's what it's about. What does it feel like if you go through this? What do you imagine? If you've been sitting for a very long time, what is a good point to stand up? What or the other way around? Like, just making certain choices, and then you can always, throughout rehearsals, you will change them, things will go differently, you will figure out this and this and that, basically getting into your body is gonna be, and then with the lines also memorized, it's a whole different spiel of like, where am I going, what are my lines, and you have always someone who's like on blocking and someone who's gonna be on your lines for you. So you can
so you do have someone reading like on standby? So almost like a script supervisor on set.
Yes. Exactly. That's basically, so that's the first AD for, like the assistant director for stage is basically the script supervisor. In some ways and then the stage manager as well. There's the stage manager is the person most of the time that is aware of all the cues, like if you have any like sound cues or light cues, he's the person that's gonna be in the booth like figuring out the technical everything. Friday night play, Saturday like matinee, then I had the night performance for the other one. Then I had another two on the other day. I was like, how am I? I was like, lines, remember your lines. And like, I literally, the first
Did you ever like...
So messed up. I messed up, like the one that I was
But at least you can own up to it and not be like, you know, like, oh yeah, like I didn't, you know, like not in denial about it. Like I feel like you learn from your mistakes too. So it's like, it's good that you can be like...
this is a padding break.
just
deal with it. It's hot in here.
It's freaking 91 degrees today in the valley.
So
I basically have a recording in a sauna right now, so
it's okay. I'm just generally always really warm, so I'm just gonna be here doing this, and you're just gonna deal with it. I totally messed up at that play. Like the first night
on stage or at rehearsals.
No, on stage. I literally, I think, messed up somewhat the lines, and we skipped some. I don't know if I don't actually remember if it was really me or if
it was the scene partner,
or like if something and I couldn't fix it, and then someone else like literally jumped in, being like, "Well, like this is how we're gonna," and then we just went from like a completely
so they kind of saved the scene.
Oh my god, thank God! I was literally there being like, "Who's gonna save it?" I don't know if I can, because I was literally like. Some of them were like people who were in the entire time, so they didn't have any alternates, and then there were some, like 3 of us who did. So I was like, okay, like, literally this is our one weekend that we're on, so don't be hard on us. We also, like, all 3 of us were in the play as well. So we were busy, we're doing a lot of things. It was like, please someone save us right now.
What advice do they give you when you do mess up? Like, do they just tell you to like try to stay on topic and like run with it a little bit, or like
try improv, try to like improvisation is so important. If you can't do it as an actor in any like film or TV, because there would also be times in TV or like in
where they want it like
film,
improv and comedy, right?
Totally. And then on stage it's the same thing. Like you need to be able to, if something happens and you can't immediately either cut on film or like just cut away in the stage and just be like, bye.
Right.
You have to be able to.
You can't be like, cut, let's do it again.
You have to be.
Wait,
in
nobody
the moment
saw that. We're gonna reset this whole scene.
But even with film, sometimes you cannot like just cut. You know, for like people are gonna be so mad at you. So like they will wanna. I don't know. You have to also tell me as a director. You probably also like tell them like, like I'm gonna call cut. Like. Or like just
Luckily-
see how people go with it. If someone forgets a
Yeah.
line, you just like roll with it until you're like, okay, like do it again.
In my beginning projects, it did definitely like happen more, but like as like, you know, learn more and stuff, like
Yeah.
it's definitely necessary to have a script supervisor, because they're taking care of like what are they saying, making sure they're actually sticking to the, because like sometimes I don't really care if it's like a little like tweaked or like
Yeah.
it sounds more natural, but
Yeah.
like, because you know, like I'm when I write a script, I'm like, okay, I think this sounds natural, but sometimes like other people just say things differently or it comes out more like, and I'm like, you know what, I like that better, so I let like my actors kind of roll with it. But when they're like
100%.
changing like a lot, or it's like not like they have to say a key line or else like the next thing's not gonna make sense. Then
Of course.
if it happens in the scene, then I usually let the scene go out, because I'm like, it's not really fair to the lighting department and like everything else. If everything else looks good and they just like mess up a line and they can like maybe
Yeah.
be like, we can cut it with another one, or then I just like let it run through. But if it's like totally like it's not even near what we're talking about, then I would cut it. But that
Of
has not
course.
really happened yet.
Okay.
So
Well, that's good.
luckily,
Sometimes you even just, you know, like repeat, but not repeat, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So sometimes what I'll do is basically being like
like repeat
like,
it, but in a
but
different
like in a
form.
different way. Yeah, and just be like,
yeah.
but you know, like we talked about this. Like,
We talked about
but
what?
we talked about how we went to the thing, and like you just go from there trying to save it some way,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
someone is gonna actually put you back on track. But how I did it, I think it was me. I think it was definitely me. I'm gonna take the blame for it. When I messed up with that one Christmas play, I think I messed it up to the point where we like literally skipped like a bunch of lines, and
Like,
like,
you're
it
just like
went
skip
way
over this chunk.
we like went way too fast, and I was like, and the playwright came. Oh, because he's part of the theater. Like he's literally. It was one of like, because some people from the theater are allowed to like, have their own plays written and then produced
Yeah.
and everything. So he's one of those people who's been like producing plays at the theater for decades.
Right.
And
right.
so it was like one of his like little series that he does of like Twisted Christmas Carol. So it's like basically like it's basically like Christmas Carol, but
Okay.
like different variations of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
There's
that's
always
cool.
someone who's like super grumpy,
Right.
and then the
No,
people
there
would
always
say like
has to
this.
be someone.
It's always some like really funny alliteration of it. Like it's hilarious. The one that I was a part of, I really enjoyed it. I had to become Tiny Tim in one of them because he's
Okay.
like in his like dream sequence part.
Yeah.
That's where he goes, and then there's like me being tiny. It was so weird though. Have fun with it.
Have fun with it.
So
Don't take it too seriously.
don't let yourself be like just
Yeah.
literally enjoy yourself.
Mhm.
And don't think about it too much. Don't care about what anybody would think about you, because they're
Yeah.
gonna think it no matter, it's not in your control.
Right.
Even if with your everyday life. But
Even if you try to do it
specifically-
perfectly, someone's gonna talk shit.
Exactly.
Someone's
So
gonna judge.
whatever you do it because you're happy with it, and
Yeah.
prepare, and then know your lines
Yeah.
and have a good time.
Know your lines. No accents and no improv. I feel like that was like the
Yeah.
three takeaway.
Yeah, always keep learning. Always keep
Yeah.
learning your craft, because it never stops. You can never
True.
you'll
Watch
never
more
stop
movies. Like
learning. Yeah, for real. Like watch whatever you also would see you in
yeah.
yourself in. Like
Yeah.
if it's something that you're like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, then like watch that more, learn from that, see what you can take away from. But yeah, never stop enjoying the craft
I love
for
that.
what it is.
Because like I feel like you start it because you're having fun and you're enjoying it so much. So it's like as soon as it's starting to feel like it's not fun anymore, it's like
Yeah, you gotta
know,
keep that alive.
keep it alive, keep
inner
that spark.
child in you.
Yes,
You gotta have fun.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. I think we opened the eyes of everyone. And if you would like to give out your social media.
Sure, it's just at Bita Arefnia. That's BITAAREFNIA.
It's like a cheer. BITA.
Yes, and that's basically on every social media. You can find me under that. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week.